Before we begin, take a moment to breathe. If you find value in stories that blend human emotion with timeless wisdom, consider subscribing to the channel. Your presence here supports mindful content in a noisy world. Now let us enter the story. Sarah sat in the dim kitchen, her fingers wrapped around a chipped mug of chamomile tea. The silence was thick, broken only by the slow ticking of the wall clock and the occasional hum of the refrigerator. Across the counter, Lena swirled red wine in a glass, her eyebrows arched in both curiosity and disbelief. "You're really doing this?" Lena's voice cut through the stillness. "No sex. No climax. 30 days?" Sarah nodded, eyes tired but firm. "Not just sex. No orgasm. Not even with myself." Lena's smirk was half mocking, half worried. "You? The woman who once told me a weekend without sex was a weekend wasted?" Sarah offered a weak smile. That woman was bleeding inside and didn't know how to stop the leak. She paused. "I don't know when it happened. When sex stopped being connection and started becoming anesthesia." Lena took a long sip of wine, eyes never leaving her. "So this is like a spiritual thing?" Sarah looked down. "I guess it started as guilt, but now it's about clarity, about being free." Later that night, Sarah lay in bed beside Mark, her husband. He was already asleep, turned away from her, the gentle rhythm of his breathing reminding her how distant they'd become. Not angry, just separate, as if their bodies knew how to lie beside each other, but their souls had forgotten how to touch. She closed her eyes, but memories flooded in. Leo's touch, the heat of forbidden encounters, the temporary high followed by the devastating crash. Her breath quickened, her hand inched down out of habit, then stopped. She pulled it back and turned over, clutching her pillow. The next morning, Sarah began journaling. The first entry was a question. Asterisk, who am I without craving? Asterisk, day 3 was already brutal. Her body ached, not in pain, but in yearning. Every ad flashed bodies. Every idle moment brought fantasies. She realized how saturated her mind had become with lust. It wasn't even about pleasure anymore. It was compulsion. Day 5, she opened an old email from Leo. Just to look, just to remember. But even the subject line sent a wave of heat through her. She closed it, deleted it, then sat on the floor and cried. Day 6, during a work meeting, her boss made an offhand joke about her dress. She used to laugh at those things. Now it stung. She felt reduced, seen only through one lens. That night, she took a longer walk. No phone, just her breath. Her loneliness screamed, but she walked anyway. Day 7, Leo texted, still in town. Coffee? She stared at the screen, heart pounding, fingers hovering. She almost typed, "One coffee can't hurt." But then she remembered the last time. How she came home, showered in silence, and lay beside her husband, pretending everything was fine. How that night she dreamed of falling through a black sky with no ground beneath. She turned off her phone and cried again, but it felt different this time, like something toxic was leaving her body. By day 10, the dreams started. Vivid, erotic, relentless. She woke up sweating, heart racing, the urge clawing at her. But she didn't give in. She sat, she breathed, and she wrote, asterisk, even dreams cannot chain me if I don't act upon them. On day 12, she visited a Buddhist center, a small, unadorned room, cushions, silence. A monk in gray robes welcomed her without questions. She sat for 15 minutes. Her mind screamed. Her thighs ached. Her thoughts were a loop of lust and shame. But she stayed. Afterward, the monk said gently, "We do not sit to become peaceful. We sit to see clearly." That night, Sarah didn't touch herself. She wrote instead, asterisk, maybe abstinence isn't suffering. Maybe it's meeting my suffering face to face. By day 14, something shifted. She woke up and didn't feel the hunger. Not immediately. She walked barefoot to the kitchen, felt the cool tile, listened to the birds. Her senses had sharpened. Her skin tingled from air, not touch. She sat on the balcony watching the city stir awake. Mark joined her with coffee. For once, they didn't rush. They just watched the light change. When he reached out and touched her hand, she didn't flinch. She looked at him and saw not her husband, but a man, a whole person. And for a moment, that was enough. Later that afternoon, Lena messaged her. "Still holy?" Sarah laughed and replied, "More like still human." Then came the dinner with friends. Sarah and Mark hadn't hosted in months. Their apartment was filled with laughter and old music. Lena came with her new girlfriend. Thomas from work showed up with his boyfriend. Everything felt more real, less performative. At the table, someone asked, "What's the weirdest thing you've done this year?" Sarah laughed. 30 days without climax. The room burst into laughter. But then someone asked, "Seriously though, why?" She took a breath. "Because I realized I was using sex like some people use alcohol or their phones. I wasn't making love. I was escaping." The room quieted. A slow nod here. A murmured agreement there. Lena toasted. To facing our cravings without hiding from them. They clinked glasses. Later that night, lying beside Mark, Sarah whispered, "I miss us." Not the routine. Us. Mark turned to her. "I've missed you too." They didn't make love. They talked. Long, awkward, beautiful sentences. About Leo. About numbness. About how sex became the bandage instead of the healing. For the first time in years, they looked each other in the eyes without hiding. Day 20. Sarah returned to the Buddhist center. After meditation, she approached the monk. "I think I'm starting to see more clearly." He nodded. The path doesn't promise peace. It promises truth. Peace comes when we stop resisting it. In her journal that night, she wrote, asterisk, "Desire isn't evil, but it becomes suffering when I use it to fill what I refuse to feel." On day 24, her coworker James invited her out for drinks. He was always flirtatious. In the past, she'd entertained it, let it feed her ego. This time, she declined. Politely, firmly. That night, she took a long bath and felt her skin not as an object of performance, but as something sacred. Day 27. Lena called, crying. Her girlfriend had cheated. "I feel like I'm not enough," she sobbed. Sarah listened, held space. Then she said, "You are enough." But maybe this pain is showing you something about how you've been loving. I had to break to see my own patterns. Lena was quiet. Then she whispered, "I want what you have." Sarah said, "Then let go of what you don't need." On the final day, Sarah stood at her window as the sun rose. She closed her eyes and smiled. She had not become pure, not ascetic, not above desire, but she had become honest, awake. And in that awakening, she found power, not in resisting orgasm, but in choosing not to be ruled by it. 3 practices that helped Sarah rewire her relationship with desire. 1. Mindful sitting. Sitting in stillness for even 10 to 15 minutes a day helped her confront urges without acting on them. Journaling cravings. She wrote down every craving and the emotion behind it. This revealed patterns, boredom, shame, loneliness. 3. Accountability and community. Opening up to Lena, the monk, and even Mark created safety and dismantled the secrecy that fueled her cycles. 6 techniques to break free from pleasure addiction. 1. Urge surfing. When the craving arises, ride the wave with awareness instead of resisting or indulging. 2. Replace the ritual. Swap habitual self-pleasure or escapist sex with grounding routines like walking, cold showers, or creative work. 3. Asterisk digital detox. Reduce exposure to sexual stimuli online. Unfollow accounts that trigger compulsions. 4. Somatic awareness. Feel into the body during arousal without reacting. Label the sensations. Let them pass. 5. Shadow work. Explore the root. What emotional wounds are you soothing with pleasure? 6. Practice loving kindness. Direct warmth and compassion inward, even during relapse. Healing doesn't come through shame. If this story touched something within you, share it with someone who may need it too. Subscribe for more narratives where ancient wisdom meets the struggles of modern life. And remember, sometimes the greatest clarity comes after we lose everything we thought mattered.